PCSS Connection podcast. This is the summer edition. Hope you're having a great summer. Hard to believe that school starts in less than 4 weeks. Yeah. Ciara Oldham is with us today, a student at Cookeville High School. She's had a pretty good summer. Oh, by the way, she just went to Des Moines, Iowa, and won a national championship in speaking. And so, congratulations.
Thank you so much.
And before we get into it, I want you to grab the Mondo trophy here. I mean, this is like, I'll bring it over here.
Bring it over.
Yeah, look at that. Look at this thing here. National Speech Debate Tournament Impromptu, presented by Bob and Sally Stockton, 2025 champion, National Speech and Debate Association. She was the national champion. National champion. And this is what you get for being a national champion.
Yep, it's pretty cool.
That is pretty cool. Well, you won the state.
I did.
And that's how you qualified to go to the Nationals. So tell us about how did this come about? What did you have to speak on? Just kind of walk us through everything that happened at Nationals.
Okay, so the day that competition for impromptu started for me, I believe it was Wednesday morning. I had 9 rounds total. So I had 3 preliminary rounds, and then after that, every round counted towards what led to that final stage.
Yeah. Wow. So it seemed like I remember before you had like 30 minutes to prep, and then you had to speak for 10 minutes without notes. So was that kind of what you had to do this time?
So impromptu is a different event. It's definitely in the same vein as the extemporaneous speaking.
Okay.
So for this, I have a maximum of 4 minutes to prep, but industry standard is that you prep for 2 minutes and then you speak for about 5.5 minutes.
The math doesn't really equal out there, does it? Yeah. Prep for 2, speak for 5. Yeah. So that's what you had to do.
That's what I had to do.
What were some of the topics that you had to speak on?
I gave a lot of speeches about a lot of different things. My finals round speech was, is nepotism always a bad thing? So that's kind of a dicey question.
Yeah.
But throughout the tournament, I spoke about a lot of different things. Quotes from the Beatles, the song Come Together.
Wow.
Just a myriad of topics.
Yeah.
Like, I had a quote from Simone Biles.
Really?
So just random things, people I probably didn't know about,
Yeah.
but just finding some points that I can speak on about it and just getting a message across.
Wow. Well, that is pretty awesome. And so you prepped for 2 minutes and you spoke for 5 minutes. Yeah. And you came away with the national championship. That's so awesome. And you're going to be a senior this year at Cookeville High School.
Yes.
So coming into your senior year, I'd say you've got a little momentum. But, I mean, what is that like? I mean, what are you really looking forward to this year as far as this being your senior year?
As far as my senior year, I'm definitely in speech and debate looking forward to, I'm extremely lucky to say that I'm going to be the captain of the speech and debate team.
As the national champion should be.
So that's going to be really exciting. So as far as speech and debate, I'm just hoping to make sure that our team has the best year possible. And I hope we can maybe come away with a few of those next year from different people.
Wow.
That would be amazing for me. And then as far as senior year as a whole, I guess picking a college, applying to colleges.
My guess you're going to have quite a few to choose from.
I hope so.
I would think you'd be highly recruited. Well, when they announced that you had won, I mean, what was your reaction?
It was surreal. I felt so incredibly blessed and just lucky that I had the opportunity that Mr. Cunningham, my speech and debate coach, was able to lead me to this national title. Just the support from everyone around me was just really, really a big thing for me. I don't think I'll ever forget the moment. I looked really crazy up on that stage. I was just looking around everywhere.
Yeah.
They called 6th. I thought it was me. They called 5th. I thought it was me. And then finally, national champion. It was just...
Wow. So they go from 6th all the way up?
They go from 6th all the way
up. So you have
up.
to sit there and wait the whole time, hoping that your name gets called. Oh, man. That is awesome. You know, to be able to go to Des Moines, Iowa, and even participate in the Nationals, I mean, that in itself is quite an experience. Yeah, and how many students from Cookeville High got to go?
From Cookeville High School, we had 3 students, myself, and then Kaylee Wilmoth competed in informative speaking, expository speaking, and then Daisy McBroom Stockwell, she competed in impromptu as well, but her main event was informative, and then she also did a prose piece.
Oh, wow. So what made you get into impromptu? Why that category?
My freshman year, it was my second ever tournament, and I signed up for it on a whim, which
Yeah.
is very true to what the event is as a whole. I really had no idea what I was getting myself into. I had a couple friends in speech and debate sort of run a practice round or two with me.
Yeah.
And at that tournament, I got third. And it was just, I was really surprised that just the words that were coming out of my mouth actually made somewhat of sense. And ever since then, I've competed at impromptu at basically every local tournament that I could.
That's awesome. What do you want to do with this experience? I mean, obviously you have a gift to be able to communicate. So how do you want to use that gift?
I would definitely like to use my speech and debate experience in a further career. I am thinking about going into either political science or law in college.
Yeah.
So that effective communication, sort of off the cuff, is definitely something that will be valuable to what I believe my future career will be.
Yeah.
And beyond that, the Speech and Debate Association has really meant a lot to me. And even with the national title, they gave me a $1,000 scholarship for college, which was absolutely incredible. Definitely needed.
Not only do you get this nice trophy, you also get $1,000 to go with it.
Yes,
Yeah,
that
here you
was
go.
fabulous.
Have $1,000. That's awesome. Well, congratulations again. And
Thank
now that
you.
you've been back, how have you been enjoying your summer?
So the rest of my summer, immediately after I went back from nationals, I went to a camp with Power of Putnam. It was called...
I tried to call and you were gone.
Yep.
I was like, she's never at home. She's always doing
Right.
something.
I'm kind of back on the ground now. I'm going to Chattanooga in a few days for another Power of Putnam thing. But other than that, just hanging out with friends, working at my job,
Yeah.
basic summer stuff.
Awesome. Are you ready for school to start back?
As ready as I can be. It really does feel like it's flown by.
It has.
It has.
Once July hits, it's pretty much over.
Yeah.
So it's pretty much over.
It's pretty much over.
Well, Ciara, congratulations again. We have a national champion speech and debate person in our school, Cookeville High School in Putnam County. I don't know. I'm not aware of any other national champions that we've ever had. I need to do a little research there, but we certainly have one in 2025. So congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Enjoy the rest of your summer, and we'll see you back in a few weeks.
You too. Thank you.
The movement going on here in Putnam County, and it is Restoring Childhood, the initiative, and it's kind of been led by this man, Ryan Dalton. And Ryan, just kind of get us caught up on what has been going on and how this has really started and where we're at this point.
So I'm originally here from Cookeville, didn't live here for 20 years, and have moved back and lived here for 5 years, and I teach at Avery Trace Middle School. And I recently read this book, Anxious Generation, by Jonathan Haidt. Actually, I finished it over spring break, and when I finished it, the second I put it down, I emailed Mr. King and a couple of other people and said, we have to do something.
Yeah.
This is urgent. And basically the premise of the book is how early and over exposure to internet-based screen time for kids is literally rewiring their brains. And it's actually a paired thing, so it's not just what they're being exposed to on the screens,
Right.
but also what they're missing out on, which we can speak more about in a little bit. But he lays out a very compelling and research-based argument of why we should why we should intervene quickly.
Yeah.
And so when I finished the book over spring break, as I said, I thought, okay, we have to do something. I started emailing people, and I started meeting with different community partners. So Catherine Weisinger at the public library, Jill Ramsey was the first board member to really get on board and come behind us. Plenty Bookshop.
So when you said you felt like you needed to do something, and so when you started talking to those people, what is it that you were telling them that you thought we needed to do?
So in the book, Jonathan Haidt not only just lays out this, as I said, very compelling, but also shocking information about just how damaging screens are.
Yeah.
And as a teacher, it's things that I've seen and I've known,
Because you've been in the classroom and you've been living this as a teacher.
Yeah, correct. And I'm also a parent, so
Yeah.
I see it, with my own kids and their peers.
Right.
But it kind of I think there are things that we have that have happened. It's slowly creeped in, and it's become normalized, and it's become our norm. And it's kind of like the frog that gets used to the water and just gets boiled.
Yeah.
Like we've become accustomed to it, and
Yeah.
so it isn't as striking to us. And then COVID happened, and it shifted everything.
Yeah.
And then a lot of this, what the author's speaking about, was, I guess, exponentially made worse through the pandemic. But it wasn't just the pandemic. And so a lot of the learning loss that we're talking about, a lot of the decrease in data and things are because kids were out of school for a time period and because
Right.
of the pandemic. But it's also, this is the deeper root. And I realized we have to do something about this.
Yeah.
And what is great, not only does he present this information in this very compelling way, but he also offers hope. And he basically says the only way that this is a terrible situation we're in, we have to intervene. However, there is hope through collective action. And the only way to intervene is when communities come together and say, we're going to do something about this.
Yeah.
And that's really what encouraged me to say, like, I do think it's possible.
And that something is...
So the something is bare minimum. If you cannot do anything else, he kind of presents 4 main reforms, I
Okay.
guess that you would say. And those 4 main reforms are wait until 9th grade to introduce smartphones.
Okay.
So the first 3 are all about reducing
Right. Which is
internet-based
around
screen
the
time.
14, 15-year-old age.
Correct.
Yeah.
So to not introduce a smartphone, now that doesn't mean like you can't have the flip phones and the little
Yeah.
gizmo watches
Right.
and whatever, but the internet-based phones. So wait until 9th grade, 14, as you said, to introduce the smartphones. Wait until 16 to introduce social media.
Wow.
So do not introduce social media before that point.
Yeah.
Have phone-free schools, which we are a step ahead on
Right.
that because we're moving towards that.
Yeah. We just passed that at the school board.
Yeah. And so I know that we can talk more about this in a little bit after we get done with this section, but it's a really positive thing in my opinion. And I understand there's a lot of fear around that, but I do know that it's for the best interest of the kids.
Absolutely.
And then his 4th point is to increase unstructured, unsupervised play. Because, like I said, it's not just what is happening on the screens,
Right.
all the things that they're being exposed to, it's what they're missing out on.
Yes.
And what they're missing out on is the real world experience.
Yeah.
And so the statistics show that the average American teen spends 7 to 9 hours a day on a screen.
Yeah.
And that is not including school time.
Yeah.
And as you know,
Yeah.
we use a lot of computers. We
Yes.
use a lot of electronics in schools. So outside of that time,
Yeah.
where they could potentially be on a screen all day, depending on what classes they have, they're spending 7 to 9 hours a day. That's a full-time job
Wow.
on screens. Simultaneously, the average American teen spends less than 10 minutes a day, not hours, minutes a day on unsupervised, unstructured play outdoors. So our kids are what Jonathan Haidt refers to as overexposed to the virtual world and underexposed
Exposed.
to the real world.
Oh, absolutely. And I'm so happy that there wasn't social media back in my day
Oh, yeah.
to record all of my things that I did. And but yeah, it's you can really see how it has changed over the years. And I say my generation. I grew up in the 70s and the 80s, and it was all about playing outside. It was about riding bikes. It was about doing all those things. And you don't see kids doing a whole lot of that, or it's kind of a forced thing. I know I have a grandson, and man, he's very smart, very intellectual, but he does spend a lot of time in front of a screen.
Yeah.
And there's not a whole lot of time playing outside. I get him to come over and swim some, but I mean, other than that, it's this whole generation, and and I'm as guilty as any other parent of buying my kids cell phones or electronic stuff, and letting them occupy their time with that.
Yeah, and it's not. This is not like an anti-technology movement.
No, not at all.
And there's great ways to use technology.
But everything can be done in moderation.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think what I didn't realize, though I saw the bits and pieces of it in the classroom, and like I said, with my own children's peers, what I didn't realize is just how much of a cognitive and developmental impact these screens are having on our kids.
Yeah.
And he calls it a phone-based childhood, but it also includes all internet-based screens. So we're talking about tablets, when you just hand a baby or a toddler a tablet and they're just doing what is kind of the doom scrolling on YouTube or whatever it is. And so it's the active time on the screens and sort of the various things that causes, but then again, it's what they're missing out on in the real world, and it's meaning that they're not set up, they're not being given a chance to become resilient as generations past. And one of the most amazing metaphors he uses is there were these scientists who created this biodome out in Arizona. It was called Biodome 2, and they wanted to create this perfect environment. And I think there were even like 8 people who were supposed to live in that, and they wanted to create this self-sustaining environment where all the oxygen, all the water, everything in the biodome was recycled, and the plants created the oxygen, all of the stuff. And they got it going. Things were growing. It was in all, like, on the surface, it seemed perfect, like the perfect world. And it started failing miserable in many ways, but one of the major ways it started failing was the trees, as they grew big, started falling over. And they were just falling.
Oh, wow.
And the scientists were perplexed. And it takes a lot to perplex the scientists because that's their whole thing. They had no idea what was going on. And they realized that the trees that were growing in this safe environment didn't have wind and didn't have like the hard rain that gave the resistance as it grew. And so there were 2 components. One was there's this, and he has a term that I don't remember what it is, but it builds the structure of the tree stronger, the actual physical wood structure. But then it also makes the roots go deeper. So when the wind shakes those baby saplings, it might bend it totally over, but then when it stands back up, those roots grow deeper and stronger. And as the tree grows, it builds that resilience, it builds that strength, and the actual struggle and resistance is what makes it stronger. So that wasn't happening in this perfect biodome, and it had very shallow roots that were not deep, and the trees were falling over. And he says that's what's happening to our kids. That unstructured, especially unsupervised play that you speak about, I know you had as a kid, I had as a kid. That's what builds that problem solving, resilience. You're out in the yard, it's a summer day, and your parents might not even be at home, and you have to figure things out. You get hurt, you have to figure out what to do. I can think of all sorts of situations in my childhood that built that resilience for me. And
we're building ramps and jumping bikes. Just stuff like that. And you come home with you're scraped up and they're like, what happened to you? No, we're just playing.
Yep, exactly. And it was part of our childhood, and that's something that our kids these days are being robbed of for various reasons as well. And one of the reasons he speaks about is this sort of culture of safetyism and fear, where it started in the 80s and got progressively worse in the 90s and then early 2000s, where with this continuous news cycle of all these bad things happening, parents feared sending their kids out into the real world because they didn't want them to get kidnapped or sex trafficked or all of these things. And he says the likelihood of actually getting kidnapped in your own neighborhood these days is actually extremely rare. As a matter of fact, crime statistics nationally have gotten better since the days when we were out there just running loose. For a major reason, because a lot of the predators have gone online and they've resorted because it's much easier for them. So he said, we are thinking that we're protecting kids by not allowing them to play out in the yard and whatever. And then we throw them in the next room where the world has access to them. And he says the statistics of actually like a child encountering adult content that they should not.
Yeah.
That someone that has the intentions of doing some type of harm or nefarious thing is like way more likely on a tablet or a phone than just going out in your neighborhood.
Wow.
And so it's, again, that overexposure to the virtual world,
right.
Where they're exposed to everything, and underexposure to the real world.
Yeah. So knowing all these things, and I know you've started the Restoring Childhood Putnam County initiative. So you've started meeting with these folks, and what has been the reaction? I mean, from what I've seen, everybody's like, "Oh yeah, I agree," kind of thing. But it's more than just agreeing. It's like you said, it's time to take action. So then the action and getting some of these people to do some of these things. What's that been like?
So the community response has been incredible.
Yeah.
As you said, we have some major partners that have come on board. The public library,
Yeah.
Plenty Downtown Bookshop.
Right.
We have Hub Plus, which is kind of the old Channel 7 if you
Yeah.
grew up with that.
Yeah, I did.
Stonecom, all the radio stations have committed to doing all kinds of wonderful
Wow.
stuff. The school board on the last school board meeting just
Yes.
came on board. And then you have all sorts of various community members who are just doing what they can. And the foundational thing is, what I say when I ask people, would they like to join the community coalition or join the initiative?
Yeah.
They ask, well, what's the time commitment?
Yeah, what does that
to
involve?
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I say, well, it really just involves acknowledging that it's an issue,
Obviously.
and not even having to have the answers, but being willing to do whatever they can in their little corner
Yeah.
to make the changes that they can, even if it's personal changes,
Right.
or if it's bigger systemic things.
Okay.
And so that's where we've started, and it really has been amazing to see people get going. And you may or may not know, I had the pickle club at Avery Trace,
Right.
and I used to always get these like pickle content sent to
Yes.
me, and now
Yes.
it's this content.
Yes.
Everybody's
Yeah.
sending it. But what's great is it's not just stuff from the internet; it's people's actual. Their actual experiences. So they're sending pictures and videos of their kids doing things in the yard
Oh,
that
that's
they
awesome.
hadn't done.
Yeah.
Yesterday, someone sent me a screenshot that her the little screen time report.
Right.
She had reduced it an hour and 34 minutes from last week.
Oh man. Yes.
Yeah, and so people are sending me stuff like this, and it's very, very encouraging.
Well, that's great. And it's summertime. I mean, this is the time when, we should be out playing and
Yep.
doing stuff. And I mean, there's so many great outdoor activities. And I love driving home and driving through my neighborhood. And you see the kids out on the street. They're riding their bikes. They're
Yep.
on their scooters. They're shooting basketball. They're throwing a baseball in the yard. It's like, man, yes, this is what I'm talking about. This is, playtime. This is summer.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
And it's not just summer, but it has to be a mindset that we have to get back to because, I mean, it's a proven fact that our kids are being raised different.
Yes.
And, and it's not to bash parents about, oh, well, you're not raising your kid right. It's the society that we live in.
Absolutely.
It's absolutely the society that we live in.
And there's zero bashing, zero judgment,
Yeah.
because like I said, it's this thing that has creeped in,
Yeah.
and we've all done it
Yeah.
at times.
I mean, you're a
And-
parent,
Yeah.
I'm a parent. I mean, I get it. Yeah.
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 And I mean, it's he kind of makes the reference that the tablet became the modern pacifier
Yes.
for kids, and
Right.
unfortunately, though it is like biologically proven that pacifiers are slightly addictive for babies, and they become reliant on that.
Right.
One of the things that is more, I would say, dark
Mm-hmm.
is that these tech companies are intentionally targeting children and youth, and they're
Well, you get 'em
making
hooked.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and they're intentionally making them addictive.
Yeah.
It takes advantage of the dopamine rush,
Right.
and he speaks about how the scrolling and the videos and the constant access to this creates dopamine rush in the child's brain, the adult's brain, and what dopamine does, that how he describes it is, it provides pleasure but never satisfaction.
Yeah.
And so
Wow.
you get this rush of pleasure, but you are never satisfied. So it's never enough,
Yeah.
and you do what is referred to as the doom scrolling, and could get on just distracted in a moment and get on the phone, and an hour later could still be just sitting there scrolling mindlessly.
You mentioned, of course, the Putnam County School Board did vote to become part of this initiative, and then recently at the last board meeting at the end of June, approved the no cell phone policy, which goes along with the Tennessee state law about cell phones. And there has been a lot of resistance against that. Parents don't believe that their kids should be without their cell phone throughout the day, emergency, things like that. And it's totally understandable, but it does kind of go back to, this aspect of it is just taking that cell phone out of their hands during instructional time, during time when, they don't need to be worrying about getting a text or this or that, where they have to be focused on what they're learning.
Absolutely. And I think some of the main sort of narratives I'm seeing is just fear.
Yeah.
What if something tragic happens and I can't contact my child? Another one is this kind of idea of like, I paid for this, so you can't control me. It's an idea of like control. And then another one is kind of, I think, sort of diminishing or sort of not giving full, credit to the distraction that phones cause in the school community. Mm-hmm. So they see it as like, oh, it's just a little distraction. It's not that big of a deal.
It is a big deal.
It's a huge deal. Yeah. And it's, as a teacher, it's something that we end up having to fight on a regular basis. And you can have all the policies, all the, your cell phone things, protocols and procedures in place, and there's still going to be students who try to sneak in and get it because
listen, I was just talking to some teenagers about this policy, and they're just like, well, I'll get a burner phone, or I've got an old phone that I'm just going to put in the pouch, and then I'm just going to keep the other one on me. I mean, they're already thinking about how they're going to get around this.
Yes.
Because that's what teenagers do. I mean, and that's also kind of an alarming addiction to your cell phone, that you can't put it down just for a little while.
Yeah. And I think, and this is, again, not a judgment, but just observation.
Right.
I will say vast majority of the time as a teacher, mm-hmm. where a student is bold enough to just have a phone out in class when they know they're not supposed to. Mm-hmm. And I've said, hey, buddy, put your phone away, or, we're not supposed to have your phone out. Mm-hmm. Vast majority of the time, their response is, well, I'm texting my parent, I'm texting my mom, I'm texting my dad. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, well, your mom and dad know you're in class.
Right.
I'm happy to speak to them about it, but we're doing
work.
Math right now.
I mean, that's why you're here.
Yeah. And so one of the things I see is a lot of the parents who are upset about it, which, again, I'm not judging, rightly so. I'm a parent myself. I get it. But a lot of the parents who are upset are also ones who want that instant and constant interaction with their kid during the school day. Yeah. And that's part of the issue. Yeah. I've seen people say, what a waste of money. Why do we have to do pouches? And that's a waste of money. It can be spent on other things. I would love a world where we can say, put your phone away for the whole day.
Right.
And
it happens.
We don't, we don't live in that world.
No.
And we need the support of parents to make that
really do.
A reality.
And I think that's the key. And I think once the results start coming in and we start seeing the attentiveness and, just all the things, all the good things that could happen, then I really think more people will be on board with it.
Yeah. I will say as a educator, I've taught 4 years in Brooklyn, New York, 4 years in Montgomery, Alabama, and now 5 years here. I'll be going into my 6th year here. I will say in the 90% of conflict is either started and or perpetuated on social media.
Absolutely.
The conflict that's happening in middle school and high school.
Yeah.
Because we had conflict in school.
Oh, yeah.
And we would meet outside.
Right.
And we would fight it out, maybe fight in school in the occasional fight. But for the most part, after that fight, it was kind of done.
Yeah, that was it.
Yeah, we might have had a rematch, and then it was really done.
Yeah.
Now, these things live on.
They continue and
forever.
They fester, and it's just, they don't go away.
They don't go away, and all the kids have access to it, and then an image is shared.
Or
and
if it's something that happened a couple of years ago, it's brought back up. I mean,
Yeah.
something that you did. I mean, I think that's the thing that everybody's seeing with social media now. whatever you put out, like when we first started getting on social media, 10, 12, 14 years ago.
Yep.
Now you go back and not knowing what we knew, then you can go back and pull a post or something like that and say, well, look at this kind of thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so they live on forever.
Yeah.
And then they even create specific accounts for this. They have the common ones are like ones of kids sleeping in class, or they have these like what they call the ship accounts where they like pair people together and say they would make a good couple. But it's not done in like goodwill. It's done in kind of a bullying way.
Sure.
And then all kinds of other accounts that they will even focus on like a specific student, and create an entire Instagram account just to bully this one student. And these are things, if we could keep cell phones out of school, because their frontal lobes are not developed yet.
Right.
They're going to make decisions that are not in their best interest and the best interest of others. We did that as well. But like you said way earlier on in this, we didn't have YouTube and Facebook to document it.
Right.
Thank goodness, because there will be a lot of wild stuff out there of me. But so that's that's just kind of the tip of the iceberg with the dangers that cell phones can pose in schools, other ways of making the school environment unsafe. But then on top of that, in an actual emergency situation, this situation that parents dread the most, that me as a parent, I dread the most, what we need more than anything else, unfortunately, we live in this time where these things occur. We have yearly trainings of how to deal with this. The teachers, the staff are trained to respond and know how to keep students safe as we can in those situations. Me as a parent and a teacher, I know, and I can't speak for all teachers, but in the event of that tragic situation, I know that I'm ready to die in that situation for the students that I'm charged with in that moment.
Sure.
And I will not return home to my own children. This is dark and heavy, but like it's the reality. Yeah. I'm ready for that. Yeah. However, if in those moments when we need to be quiet, when students need to be more attentive than ever, if they're distracted by their phones, and then they're also putting out information, which is what happens.
It does happen.
They put out information. Right. It could be just a practice, a lockdown, and they start, putting on Snapchat, oh, we're in a lockdown, and then the word gets out. Parents start showing up to the school. Yes. First responders can't respond in the way they need to, and it creates chaos. And
from my perspective, when I'm trying to find out, the facts, so that we can put out the real stuff, what's really happening, and then you get all these things that are coming in. Well, I saw this or I saw that, and you start getting all this stuff coming in when all we need is the absolute facts, because that's what everybody wants to hear. Yep. And it does create a lot of chaos, and I'm sure we could continue to talk about that for a long time. But if somebody wants to get involved, somebody wants to say, well, look, I agree with pretty much everything you're saying, and we need to do this. How can I become part of the Restoring Childhood Initiative here in Putnam County? What can they do? So the sort of initial right now way is to just reach out to me. They can email. We have a website, restoringchildhoodputnamcounty.com. Yeah. And so all the contact information is on there. Right. So they can reach out and get involved in whatever way it looks like, whether it's joining the community coalition or just getting involved, in their little corner, like I said. Yeah. The other main component of this, which is read the book.
Yeah, and this is the beginning, or this is like the first thing we're doing, but it's actually just the beginning. Is to especially people who are skeptical, especially the parents who are like, I don't think that there should be these like no phone laws and things like that. I would say read the book. And we are doing a community-wide book study, county-wide book study, starting in August to December, 16-week study. Awesome. And there are 7 formats. So it's like completely accessible to everyone. Yeah. But again, on the website or by reaching out to me, they can sign up to host a book study, or they can sign up for one that's pre-existing, and read the book. The book is available. You have the hard copies. There's the audio book. There's the ebook. There's a Spanish version. it's
I've got the audiobook.
yeah, and I've read
It's easier for me to be able to listen when I'm on the lawnmower
Yep.
or
Yeah,
out
and,
in the yard.
I just actually, Catherine Weisinger shared with me last night that she has purchased all of these copies of the audio book,
Yeah.
and there are currently 1,500 people waiting. That's what a high demand it has happened in the area, which we need to get them more audiobook. But she's already purchased a lot, and they're very expensive for the library. But so there is a high demand. But reading the book, that is like the basis of all of this.
Well, it's what started it with you.
Yes.
And I guess, if people are watching it or they've seen what's been going on, they might say, well, who is this guy and what is he getting out of all this? I mean, which is a valid question.
Valid.
Very valid. And to that you would say?
Well, I'm a parent and I'm an educator. And I'm not only am I not getting anything out of this beyond like trying to help, currently we don't. It's an initiative. We're not a business or even an organization.
Right.
So I'm funding this out of my own pocket. Print materials. I created a study guide for the 16-week study.
Mm-hmm.
I printed 100 of those and paid out of my own pocket. So I'm potentially going into debt for this, but it's
something you believe and have a passion for.
Yes, and it's for me, it is investing in our kids, and that to me is priceless.
Yeah.
I'm investing in this community's youth and my own. I have two daughters, 9 and 7.
Wow.
And this is all the stuff that I'm asking us to do. I'm doing it with my own children. So, but yeah, we also recognize that not everybody loves reading.
Mm-hmm.
There are some pretty like dense portions of this because it is research based. He's a social psychologist.
Mm-hmm.
So he's speaking about things that maybe the average person hasn't been exposed to before. But through the library, through Plenty, we're making it as accessible as possible. At the library, we will be hosting a non-reader version where people can just come in. One, where people can come and just listen to the audiobook,
Sure.
but also where people can come and kind of listen to more of a summary, someone just speak about it, all the way to the other end of the spectrum, people who want to dive in on the deepest levels. We have book studies for that as well. And I'm really encouraging people to, kind of like churches have small groups in their homes, these home groups. That's going to be, I think, one of the most effective models is people signing up to do that. So just your friends, your families, in that 16-week period, you don't have to commit to doing it every week and follow that scope if it doesn't work for your schedule. But to commit in that period, figuring out how to do it, reading the book with a group of people, and you can sign up, and we're even trying to make ways for people who want to have the book but don't have the finances for it. We're trying to make some books available for that. So we're trying to make it as accessible as possible, get it in as many hands as possible, so that we can ground ourselves and anything we're doing in this like very, very well thought out research.
Yeah, and it's funny because at the first time I heard, I was at church, and there was a teacher who came up and said, "Hey, have you heard about this?" and started talking to me. And of course, I'm the the skepticist. I'm like, "What? I mean, come on, who's doing this?" And then you come before the school board, and the more research and the more you look into it, it's like, okay, this is for real. This is legit, and this could really. If we're going to change the world, it's got to start right here in our own world.
Absolutely.
And, it's like a spiderweb effect. It starts here, and it just continues to grow and grow and grow.
Yeah.
So I do applaud your passion and what you're doing. And just beware of what you're reading on spring break because, it can turn into
you never know.
It can
Yeah,
turn
exactly.
into an initiative. You don't know. I mean, you're there at the beach, you open up a book, and then boom, here you are, a few months later, and, you've got this big initiative going. But, again, you do have a website. It's restoringchildhoodputnamcounty.com. You can get on Facebook. I mean, there's a lot of information out there. But the main thing is to do your own research, read the book, and then make your own decision, because I think that's what a lot of people are doing. Instead of just saying, okay, well, I agree with what you're saying, and that might be part of it. But when you really see the statistics and when you really think about what's happening with our generation of young people, it makes sense.
Yeah. Absolutely. And
It
it's,
makes total sense.
It's hard to not do something once you've been
It's hard
exposed to
not
that.
do so. And it is something that as a parent and as a grandparent, I have run into and I have been guilty of. And it's like you say, you don't really think about the effects at the time, but now we're starting to see these things, and it's like, okay, I want my kids to go out and play, man. I spent so many hours, during the summer, whatever. The only time I was watching TV was at night when it was dark and you couldn't go out anymore.
Yeah.
Where my mom and dad made me come in. They had to drag me in from outside, and that was a great culture. I mean, that was a great way to grow up.
Yeah.
It was a great way to grow up because, you didn't really have any of the anxiety, the anxiousness from a mental perspective. Now, physically, you're tired. You come in, you want to go to bed. You got some scrapes, you got some of those things, but it helps shape and mold you into a person.
Yeah. And so, for instance, with the anxiety and things, we've seen a rise in anxiety and certain mental illnesses specifically related to this, so depression, anxiety.
Yeah.
In just the past, since like 2012, hospital visits from self-harm and attempted suicide, specifically amongst girls, has gone up 188%.
And you get back to that bullying aspect too.
Yeah, and so he speaks about how social media specifically and these internet-based devices affect boys and girls differently.
Right.
So for girls, social media is like on Instagram with the image and the filters that change how they look.
Right.
It affects their mental ideas of who they are and how they look and how they should look. Mm-hmm. And so that's really affecting their self-esteem, which then affects can cause depression and anxiety. Yeah. With the boys, it's slightly different. They tend to go more towards the chat-based things, Reddit, these internet-based video games that are very popular now, and then pornography for boys. Right. That's a big one.
Easy.
And the
Easy
average child in America who has access to the internet, they say are as young as 8 years old, have already experienced their first seen pornography for the first time at 8 years old. And again, it's that exposing them to things they're not ready to see or should not see at all, while we're also underexposing them to the things that they should see, trees, grass, that stuff. Yeah. But yeah, the sort of, we could talk all day about the research and the graphs. He has really amazing graphs in here that just show just since basically 2012. And it's not just an American thing. It's a global thing. Yeah. And that's where they had to look and say, okay, globally, this generation that was sort of the first phone-based generation is the most impacted by these certain mental health issues. Yeah. So what has changed? And he speaks about every generation has gone through these major situations, like earlier generations like Vietnam and the Great Depression and all these things. This upcoming generations had 9/11 and things like that. But none of those significant historical happenings are the things that are impacting this on the great level that we see. Right. And the one and only thing that has shifted is the introduction of internet-based cell phones. Where they have access to the entire world all the time, cannot escape it in their hands and in their pockets all day. And so it's around, he repeats it over and over again, but around 2012 is where we start to see that shift.
They don't know what it's like to be bored anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, I can remember going to a relative's, house and sitting there and just being bored to tears.
Yep.
And it's just, you don't know how to just be patient and just sit and not have to be seeing something or doing something all the time.
Yeah, and boredom is actually a great thing for kids.
Yeah.
Because that's what leads into creativity, innovation, inquiry, all these things that me as a teacher, I want my students to have. Right. Boredom leads to that. Yeah. If, fostered in the right way. But yeah, I look around, and even more so, I'm aware now that I've read this, and I've done a lot of traveling, and from the airports to just Walmart, wherever I am, you see that people are just constantly on their screens.
Yes.
And any moment,
I'm standing in line at Walmart. I get my phone out and I start, looking at ball scores or what's going on. Scroll as I'm waiting.
yeah, we all do it,
Yeah.
and it's really interesting. But when we have kids doing this, we're robbing them of a chance. And not only are we robbing them of a chance to engage in the real world, but again, it's having a negative impact on their cognitive abilities, on their development, and on the development of their brains. And that is really where we have to intervene.
Well, Ryan Dalton will come back and certainly we'll get some updates as this initiative, as this coalition continues to grow and things happen. The book study starts in August. You've got about a month to read The Anxious Generation.
Yep.
I highly recommend it. It is something that is basically going to change the way we look at screen time for our kids. And we're trying to do something about it.
Yeah.
So appreciate what you're doing, the passion that you have, and any final thoughts?
I guess my final thoughts is, like I said, go on the website,
Yep.
Restoring Childhood, PutnamCounty.com. Also Facebook, Instagram, though it seems counterintuitive. That's the way we communicate these days. So we do have that there. And then what I would say is this initiative, this movement can only be as big as we are,
Sure.
but we are great.
Yeah.
We are big. And I've seen Putnam County specifically come together in key moments and really do big things.
Right.
Whether it be through natural disaster or whatever it is. I've seen this community come together and really make a difference in big ways.
Yeah.
And this can only be as big as we are, but we are huge.
Yeah.
And I think we can make a difference.
All right. Sounds good. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you.